relatives, we're reaching out to you from the great state of Oklahoma. We're here on the Osage Reservation outside the town of Bartlesville. There's a historic meeting took place today, and we thought it was worthy of interrupting your time at home there, your home fireplaces, to report back to you that we've been at the United Indian Nations of Oklahoma and the 27 tribes that are part of the United Indian Nations of Oklahoma had a convening here today, and they'll be convening here tomorrow as well. But the tribes spoke loud and they spoke clear today in their full and unequivocal support for the Native American Church of North America and our partners, and what we're trying to do insofar as protecting peyote, protecting all forms of mescalin. And let us be clear, unless peyote people are willing to speak up to protect all forms of mescalin, and mescalin in all of its forms, whether that be synthesized or from other plant base, you cannot protect peyote. So the clear message today leaves no room, no gray area, is that these tribes here have spoken and they oppose the legalization of any form of mescalin. Even on a greater victory that transpired here today at these historic grounds of the Osage people is that they supported as well through resolution our proposed executive order on the free exercise and elevating the American Indian Religious Freedom Act administratively. And this executive order, the draft, is we call attention to it on our Facebook, or if you could email us with the NACNA executive members and so forth, we're happy to get you a draft of that. But we're so very proud that the National Congress of American Indians, the Great Plains Tribal Chairmen's Association, United Tribes of North Dakota, and now the United Indian Nations of Oklahoma have come aboard to support this awesome proposal too. And we urge you to look up through it, to read about it, and to know more. Now we'll be coming live to you with our summit April 12th in Farmington, and Brother Justin will be expressing a little bit more of the details on that, and you've seen the announcement. We urge each and every one of you, if at all possible, to attend that. And if you're unable to attend, we'll be broadcasting that live as well as we talk about these critical issues of the day. As we get into peyote conservation, we remind all the good loving relatives it's important, these land acquisitions that are happening. It's important, the regenerative harvesting methods that certain ranches and peyoteros are using as well. Those things are crucial. We at NACNA have also chosen to focus on conservation at the federal level. And in a few short weeks, we'll be testifying in front of the House Interior Appropriations Committee on the President's fiscal year 2025 budget. And in that testimony, we draw your attention as well to last year's testimony from the various tribal leaders and also your President, John Brady, requesting $5 million for a demonstration project for private landowners to engage in conservation easements and conservation of their peyote habitat. Good relatives, we're proud to report today that this body here also endorses this conservation effort, and they'll be testifying in kind in the coming weeks to request that Interior put those monies together. So we're very excited today, and we wanted to share this blessing with each and every one of you. And so often we're challenged on a daily basis just with resources, with the ability to get here and there. But as we've been doing since day one as volunteers, we made our way down here. We presented ourselves, our physical bodies here, our presence, to do something that we've been doing since the beginning of this administration 3 years ago. When the officers of NACNA found this organization 3 years ago, it was a crippled giant. And today I'm so proud to announce to you, this is one more movement, one more motion for that giant to rise up. It's on one knee, ready to stand now. And it's only because of this support from tribes, American Indian tribes, federally recognized tribes, the strength of NACNA, it comes through these partnerships as well. So along with the Peyote Coalition, the Tribal Peyote Coalition, the Coalition of Peyote Tribes, the National Congress of American Indians Peyote Task Force, and now United Indian Nations of Oklahoma, we're making movements in that direction, and we're very proud of that. And why is this important? Prior to the conversation that NACNA brought to this great body today, there was a massive expression in unison from these tribes on opposing these state-recognized tribes, on opposing communities that are making up their own lineage, on opposing these efforts by congressional leaders to sabotage good Indian legislation on behalf of these tribes that they favor that aren't recognized. Why do we bring this up in the context of peyote is, for too long, we've concealed the true circumstances even from ourselves, which is that we allowed a small group of people, and even so far as to say a body that is non-representative. What does that mean? Non-elected, no constituents, no membership, no body that they're accountable to. We've allowed them to usurp, to take the voice away for peyote advocacy. And it just so happens that these ad hoc groups, these rogue groups, are funded by non-Indians. They're funded by pharmaceutical interests. They're funded by people that want to see the legalization of these psychedelics. What we're doing today, it's critical that you understand this, relatives. And I'll say this for myself and all of the Native American Church in North America. We stand by our words that come out of our mouths. We stand by our policy positions. We stand by the actions of our delegates, our chapters, our executive board, and all the good peyote people, Native American Church people throughout the land. So when people say that's not true, that's not factual, we're here to say it is. And we have the receipts to prove it. And we have conviction in what we say, or we wouldn't say it. What is happening today and what is going to happen tomorrow is tribes are taking that voice back with support from peyote people in a collaborative, unified, synergetic manner. And that's why it's really crucial here what transpired. So I'm happy today to have witnessed this. I'm happy today to have been a part of it. And there's many other intertribal organizations that we'll be working with as well as we try to move things forward in a good way. And one of the things that come up today, as we do everywhere we go, we bring the 1978 American Indian Religious Freedom Act, and we bring the 94 amendments, peyote amendments. And we point out to all the tribal leaders that not one word in those statutes, in those legislative vehicles, contains indigenous or indigenous communities. It says Indian tribes. It says Indians that are members of federally recognized tribes. So this effort to confuse, to conflate, to muddy the waters, to make things multicultural, we're proud that these tribes are standing up against that. We're proud that they're saying this ceremony is ours, and we're going to take a hand in protecting it too. Not just NACNA, not just NAC Oklahoma, but the federally recognized tribes have the role to defend that. So I'm really proud to share that good news. We want to say ho-ho to everybody that supports us. And NACNA, as I said, was crippled when we took over 3 years ago, 2.5 to 3 years ago now. But here we are at a time when our membership was fluctuating, when chapters were being kicked out of NACNA for speaking up. Here we are today growing, and growing by the week, growing by the month. And you're going to see that awesomeness, that power of unity come together in Macy, Nebraska, Father's Day weekend. But with the tribes behind us too, it emboldens us, and it makes us feel good, and it makes us feel like these policy objectives are going to be reached. So I want to just say that little bit and turn it over to my brother Justin, who did an awesome job He also helped with the edits for the resolution, and they were able to work with the tribes here to make it in a way that they were comfortable with and that they could support. And this is the type of teamwork that I'm very proud to align my name with and to be a part of. Aho.
Thank you, Brother Ryan, for the opportunity to work on this initiative today here in Oklahoma. I want to thank you for the teamwork that we have been able to demonstrate to not only to ourselves but to our constituents with the Native American Church of North America and to the many tribal nations that we work with day in and day out. And today has been certainly another example of that teamwork that we have done. I want to thank the support of the administration, President John Brady, and the officers of the organization and all the affiliate chapters. And it was interesting to note also that no matter where we go, no matter what body of people, whether it's a political body, whether it's a cultural body, and even all the way into Washington, all of our affiliate chapters throughout the Native American Church of North America organization are in full, unequivocal support of what is happening here. And I believe that that is key to a lot of things that we're doing. Although they're not here all the time, but us representing them, being our constituents, as well as just the individual card-carrying membership of the organization as well. And I think that there's been full support of that, and that makes things very meaningful as we embark upon a lot of the things that we do on behalf of the organization, but most of all on behalf of this azehina, this sacrament, this holy medicine, and the Peyote ceremony. And today we had a really good discussion with all of the tribes that were here concerning ceremony. I told the body here, the organization here, and through that discussion, we've come to the conclusion that we're all on the same note. It's not just about peyote anymore. It's just not about peyote ceremonies anymore. It's beyond that today. The conversation that have begun here about 3 years ago, we took it to the halls of Congress. We took it to the halls of the state capitals. We went and visited tribes and different unified coalitions and bodies of tribes that are advocating on behalf of their tribal constituents. And throughout those visits and conversations and meetings that we've had, the point of all of this surrounds our sovereignty. Everything surrounds our sovereignty today. And it has given us an opportunity to revisit and rethink and reevaluate where we're at with our sovereignty. A lot of times that term gets thrown around, but the finite, tangible part of that sovereignty is really what we're talking about. So ceremony is our sovereignty. It is the essence of who we are. It defines who we are. And it was really good to listen to Chief Standing Bearer today, Jeffrey Standing Bearer. He's the chief of the Osage Nation here, and addressed the gathering here this morning. And one of the things that he enlightened us on is sovereignty once again. Let's be sovereign. What does it mean to be sovereign? Let's be sovereign. And let's define sovereignty the way that it was meant to be. If we're going to be different from everybody else, of course we're going to be different from everybody else. If we're going to use our medicines and say this is ours, it doesn't belong to anybody else, let's say that and be open about it. Let's say these are our songs. This belongs to us. It doesn't belong to anybody else. These are our paraphernalias. These are ceremonially distinct things that we have as Indian tribes that makes us sovereign. It doesn't belong to anybody else. And so I thought that that was really enlightening, and I certainly did concur with him, and the music to my ears to hear a tribal leader say that openly, say this belongs to us, it doesn't belong to anybody else. And so I think that that's what the discussion was premised upon today, and it was a good segue into the presentations that we've made and the discussion that ensued thereafter is about the whole concept of sovereignty and the protection of our ceremonies, the protections of our songs and our prayers, our arts and crafts, our distinct protocols that we have as tribes, even our clanship systems, even our language as well. And Chief Standing Bear talked about language extensively today, and how the tribes here in Oklahoma are making extensive investments in the preservation of language today. And so it was really good to hear that here today. And so by virtue of that, I think the discussion was very fruitful for all of us today here in Bartlesville, Oklahoma, on the Osage Nation. One of the things that we really highlighted on was this notion that there are two separate entities between peyote and mescalin. And there were certainly questions about that, but I think that the clarifications that were made, and it certainly did become clear to the audience exactly what the distinctions are and what the distinctions are not, what is out there. So like in Navajo, we would say jinna jinna, those type of things. The discussion basically came back upon what our belief system is premised upon. It is the Holy Spirit. That aspect of all of our medicine. And so we were talking about peyote today, and we talked about it from that context. So it was all already understood by the tribes that were present here to say, yes, that is the way that we perceive our medicines. That's the way that we perceive our ceremonies. And so you can't separate it. You can't do that. It's one of the same. It's the non-Indians that have made it a practice to separate it, not for anything else, but just for self-interest. That's the bottom line. And so I've made some examples today, in even making the examples of the 3 bills that have been going through the California State Legislature. The first bill that died, the bill last year that was vetoed, and there's another bill that is on the table again, once again. And so it seems like all of these non-Indians are trying to find a way to try to get at that part of that peyote, to get at that part of our medicines that is the spirit of it. And it will never happen. It will never happen through these prayers, and even by the spirit of our medicines itself. I think that the Holy Spirit itself, it's not going to allow it, because it doesn't know that. That's the belief. So those are some of the really in-depth discussions that we've had today concerning peyote, but it just so happens that there were other things on the agenda that were corollary to a lot of these issues that we talked about today. One of them is the fact that we have tribal consultations. What does it mean to have consultations? We do have a federal law that requires federal programs, federal entities to have tribal consultation, and it's very specific. And that's what the federal government tries to do, from one program initiative to another. And so when we talk about initiatives concerning tribal consultations concerning peyote, I think that, and even just ceremonies, today we find ourselves talking about things outside of that context. For example, we have entities that are ad hoc. Ad hoc means any group that just kind of comes together and say, I am talking on behalf of this group or this interest or whatever. And then you have other interest groups that are trying to be tribes, but they're not. They have no cultural, language, ceremonial lineages anywhere. So it's just basically taking a bit here, a bit here, a bit here, and trying to make a tribe out of it. So those are some concerns that are there, which falls right directly on what we're talking about as well. A lot of times, our peyote ceremonies, a lot of non-peyote ceremonial tribes or people, they're not even tribes, they're just people that have come together and say, I'm speaking on behalf of the nation. That is not right. And that was the camaraderie that we built here today, because a lot of the tribes here in Oklahoma are facing the same dilemma as well, making that same argument. And so it was good to make that connection with one another, how we have similar issues and concerns. And back down to the American Indian Religious Freedom Act again, which still is the basis of everything, today. We did have a good discussion on that as far as the religious and ceremonial aspects of what the law was intended to say, what it actually does say, and then how it's supposed to be implemented and carried out. And so there was a good understanding to revisit that with one another, and I believe that was a lot of the things that people were wondering about, and I think that we certainly have clarified a lot of those today. And I think that's something that really was needed to be discussed in this type of an arena. And so part of our effort as far as Native American Church of North America is to ensure that the tribal voice, the tribal governmental voice is there. Not somebody's private organization over here or somebody's ad hoc group over here, but as far as the voice of the tribal nations in itself, the presidents, the tribal councils, the chairmen, the chiefs, and all of them, where their positions are. And so it was good to come here to the state of Oklahoma, where they have 35 plus tribes here in the state of Oklahoma. And through that, they have a coalition called the United Indian Nations of Oklahoma. They all come together as tribal governments and to make it one voice. And that's what the gathering was here. And I think that coalition building, we've took it another step. So we already have the endorsement and support of the Great Plains Chairmen's Association. We have National Congress of American Indians. We have the United Tribes of North Dakota. We have the Coalition of Large Tribes, which the Navajo Nation is a part of. They've already passed resolutions in support of what we're talking about here, and it's unequivocal. It's very clear cut. You can just read it to say that they're in support of opposing the decriminalization of peyote and mescalin in any form, derivatives, synthetics, however way you want to put it. That's the support that's out there. So in Navajo, you would say, "Do na kindlingo, do shinot abahazanigit do da." We don't support the decriminalization of all. That's what it says. And so I think it's very clear, and these are some very intelligent people that are out there that have passed these resolutions. These are professors, these are traditional medicine men in their own tribes, these are lawyers, these are doctors, these are healthcare professionals that are part of these organizations that have passed these resolutions. And so we're very thankful to the United Indian Nations of Oklahoma that we could come together and support one another like this. And we wanted to, we're just elated that this resolution was passed today and in the form that it has been passed. And I thank the organization for the opportunity and the invitation to share this with them, and then for the really good, fruitful discussion that we had today from the different tribes that are there. I want to thank the officers, the board, the director that really played a key role, Margot Gray. I want to thank some of the tribal chairmen and the chiefs. Chief Ben Barnes. I want to thank the chairman of the Ponca tribe, Mr. Oliver Lillicook. I want to thank the, I believe it's the governor of the Cheyenne Arapahoes, and others that spoke up on behalf of Native American Church, on behalf of Peyote, and a lot of the Native American Church tribes that were here. So it was, all in all, it was a good day, and we look forward to the gathering in Farmington, New Mexico, on April the 12th, Friday at San Juan College. Those of you that can be there, be there. If not, it will be broadcasted live on YouTube and Facebook. For you to witness some of the discussions that are there. The discussions is going to talk about presentations on the traditional perspective and belief of the medicine in itself. From a ceremonial perspective, there's going to be presentation on the concept of ceremony in itself from a traditional perspective by a Navajo medicine man. As far as what does ceremony mean, what is it all about? So we have that, and then we have other issues like the Establishment Clause. We have a presentation on that because that is very much relevant today. Believe it or not, this day and age, we still have to deal with the Establishment Clause coming from the federal government. We're talking about decriminalization again. We're talking about peyote habitat. We're talking about federal preemption issues. Those are some things that are on the agenda on April the 12th. So just to give you heads up on it, and invite all of you to tune in if you can't be there, and we will have coffee and refreshments to tie you over during the session on the 12th.
Just in closing on my part too, I just want to say the 12th will be that summit, and then just weeks later we'll be in Macy, Nebraska, and Winnebago for the National Convention. And it's a special time this year because it's our 75th anniversary. And what does it take to have an organization last 75 years? It's prayer, dedication, grassroots people, caring, loving people that wanted to see this organization go on, not for the sake of perpetuating an organization, but for the sake of giving this way of life a voice. So we invite each and every one of you to that. And then in the fall, September 17th, 18th, and 19th, we'll be in Washington, D.C. again for American Indian Religious Freedom Act Summit. And we call everybody to convene there, to come join us as we take to the Hill again to celebrate this 30th anniversary. And also the original act, in 45 years. So these are great achievements, not by NACNA, but by Indian country. And if we could remember that and focus on that, we're going to go a long ways, and we're going to get along a lot better as well. And we got unity all over, and we're building more inclusion. But all that can go away too with the wrong kind of attitude. So with that in mind, we reach our hands out to everyone. And when we say everyone, we mean everyone. Come join us. Come stand shoulder to shoulder with us. Come take to the Hill in Washington, D.C. with us. Come to the summit April 12th. Come to the convention. And everything else that we're going to do, you're invited, you're included, you're wanted, and you're needed. I just wanted to say that a little bit.